Hi everyone, my name is An Yuan. I'm the Director of International Recruitment Admissions at Kwantlen Polytechnic University. Today, I have this honor to speak with Lesley, a faculty member of Melville School of Business and also the Program Chair of Human Resources Management at Kwantlen. Hi Lesley, from your perspective, what truly defines the high quality of a university? And do you think ranking provides an accurate reflection of it?
Okay, so I think that's a wonderful question. And I think that, ranking is one way to look at education. For me, what determines the quality of an education is really what happens with a student, both when they're in the classroom and in their lives, when they're studying. And I think when I think of the KPU learning environment, it's really what we prioritize is this idea of connection. So when students come into our programs, they have the opportunity to connect with one another. So in my classes, I would design opportunities for people to start to get to know each other.
That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, because building that network, the Canadian network, that may include people from all over the world, right, is a really important part of career development. It's a really important part of learning. So they get to connect with other students. They have an opportunity, and I'm going to talk about how they connect with content in a minute, but they also have an opportunity to really connect with me as their professor. So I know my students by name, and they call me by name. And so I'm interested in learning about what their plans are for the future, what's interesting for them, what is hard for them. And we have those conversations during our class, but we also have those opportunities to connect outside of class. And so that connection, right, with other students, with myself, and then also the way we structure our learning, we're very much connected to industry. So students right from their very first year could be working with case studies or working on assignments from actual industry problems. As they go through their education, they have the opportunity to engage with industry and community members in so many different ways. Sometimes we're doing client projects, but we're working with a business in the community. Sometimes we're participating in industry events where people come in and network with our students and tell them about their career experiences. So for me, quality education is really a lot about connection.
I agree. And that aligns with KPU's concept of polytechnic, where thought meets action. They don't only study in class, but they also apply what they learned outside.
Yes. And I want to talk a little bit too about the connection to content, because the way that's done at KPU is through applied learning. And I think applied learning is I think it's important for everyone. I think it's even more important for international students. When international students, come to Canada, they have so many learning curves, right? So you have the learning curve that everyone has of understanding the content of what you're here to study, right? And that's, a big ask, right? And I also think that learning curve is probably the easiest learning curve because it's written down, it's explicit, and everybody in the classroom is going up that learning curve with you. International students also have the learning curve of understanding relationships and the work environment in Canada. And that can be much more difficult, right? Because it's not necessarily written down. It's not necessarily explicit. And so when we're in kind of small classrooms and people have the opportunity to, to connect in small groups and have discussions, you can start to learn kind of the nuances of culture, the nuances of communication, right? That might make a real difference for you in your career. And if you're not in a classroom where you have those opportunities for small group discussion, to work with other people, it can be much harder, right? To learn those things. The other thing in that applied learning, you actually practice in the classroom what you would be doing in the workplace, right? And so you have this really safe environment to try things, make a few mistakes, get better at it, and then take that out to maybe a co-op job or maybe your first career-related job. Yeah.
So what's your ideas about ranking?
Ranking is one way to look at universities, one way to measure universities. It's often based on research, and it's often based on research money that's coming to a university that helps to determine the rank. It's not often connected to the learning experience of the classroom. And so when students are faced with that decision, I think it's really helpful to really think about what environment would help me learn better. If I am the type of learner who might feel that they would learn really best in a lecture environment where you're sitting and listening, that you're more likely to get that in a highly ranked university, right? You'll have larger classes, and that's what the learning looks like. If you're the type of person or the type of learner who thinks that you would like some personalized support, who thinks you'd like to have the opportunity to practice some of the skills that you might do in the workplace while you're learning, or you would learn best by connecting with people, then I think there's other things to consider when you're choosing the institution that you want to go to.
Lesley, you just mentioned the connection part. Do you mind elaborate on how KPU's HR programs are connected with the industry and aligned with the professional designation?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So HR is, right now, when I look at the BC labor market outlook, HR is identified as a high opportunity occupation, which means that there's a lot of job opportunities and a lot like right now. And the forecast is for there to continue to be a lot of job opportunities. So it's a good option for people if you look at the market in BC, and organizations are needing support here, and that is predicted to continue for the next decade. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing that is important about our HR programs and the connection to industry is how we connect to our professional accreditation. So in Canada, HR professionals, to work in just about any organization, you have to be accredited, and it's called the CPHR, for the Chartered Professional in HR.
Yeah.
And if I have that designation, what that means is I have a set of competencies that you hire me, I can do these things. So the way our programs have been designed, we're completely aligned with what that learning is. So our students, when they graduate, if they have a GPA of B- or higher, they automatically get the first level of accreditation.
That's wonderful.
It really is wonderful. So the other way, if you don't take one of our programs where that's built in, you have to write a knowledge exam. And and as someone who has written that knowledge exam, it is much better to get it, connected with your university learning. So you can graduate and have right away be able to put CPHR behind your name. Yeah. Great. So we're also the way our program works, the faculty teaching our program are all HR professionals, and many of them are still practicing HR professionals, and they do, part-time at the university and part-time in industry, and some have, left industry, but they have decades and decades of experience, and have often, they've worked at very senior levels in a lot of different organizations. So you are working with seasoned HR professional with a lot of experience.
So even the examples they give in a class will be like real examples that happen in the industry.
100%, and that is something that is really important. So when we're hiring faculty, we really look at what kind of experiences they've had and how they can bring those into the classroom.
Excellent. Yeah. Next question from me is, do you have any advice for students, international students, whose first language is not English, to prepare themselves for the HR profession, given the communication intensive nature?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question.